Hello everyone. Welcome to Astrology Gene Keys weaving today. I'm I'm just overawed really because I decided to look a bit more deeply into Chiron. I'd seen a few things pop up about things happening with Chiron, and it's really interesting. So Chiron is the wounded healer. And this is all happening in Aries, which is about our sense of self and identity. And we'd already decided to do the Sudarshan Chakra Kriya for the next 40 days, which is all around the solar plexus and the sense of self and I am. So it just feels like, the tools that are aligning with the cosmic energies like so perfectly. And I'm just really excited to see how it's all going to unfold for all of us. So I wanted to start with a little attunement before we go into the presentation. And then at the end, we'll have some sharing. We're going to be working with the mudra of the 51st gene key today. It's not one in my profile, so I'm hoping that later on some of you may be more familiar with it. But I see it as a great initiator. I feel like it's got quite a Uranian, liberating, quite shocking energy. And this is where the Chiron transits that I'm going to talk about are happening in this gene key. So this feels like a really useful mudra to know. So we're going to take the Jupiter finger, the index finger, and roll it over and kind of hold it down with the thumb, but the thumb stays up and the other three fingers stay up. So let's just take a few breaths and sink into the stillness, sink into this great energy of awakening, this mudra of awakening. And what this mudra does is it temporarily enfolds the emotional energy. So it's a really good mudra to use when you feel emotionally triggered, shocked, maybe old shock coming back through the body, old trauma. This mudra very easily helps to kind of just hold that emotional energy and let the awakening, the higher energy flow through the body. And in this time ahead, the next 3 months, we may feel these old wounds rupturing, opening up again, being triggered. And we can use this mudra, use this incredible Sudarshan Chakra Kriya, which we're doing as a daily practice. Many, many tools that we have that can help us with this intense period of healing that we have available to us. So I invite you to keep doing the mudra. I'm just going to do some healing forks. I don't know if you'll be able to hear them, but the resonance will be in our group aura. These forks are, they're called the Moses tuning forks, and they are tuned to I am that. Aa Asha, Aa Asha. So it would have been said in Hebrew. And they help us to remember that we are all a fragment of God, a fragment of the light of creation. In our I amness, in our individuality. In these sounds of creation penetrate wonderful. So you can keep holding this mudra if you like, down on your knees, or come out of it as I'm talking about Chiron. And just try to receive the energy of my words. Sometimes it's not really even necessary to understand the astrology, just to receive the energy of this profound cosmic moment in time. I feel like I'm always saying that, but it's so true. I can't stop saying it. The universe just keeps astounding me, which I love. It's so nice. It's so wonderful to be an astrologer, I must say. I know some of you guys are as well. Okay, so Chiron in 2024. That's our main theme for today. You might have thought we were going to talk about Manwe and Varda, which we are also going to talk about, and you'll see how they actually fit in so perfectly. Also going to talk about Chariklo, who is Chiron's wife, possibly Okyrhoe. I don't know if I remember to put her in, but she's in an interesting place too. And she is Chiron and Chariklo's daughter. So I was quite interested, like, what is going on with Chiron's family, actually, as all this is kicking off. Okay, so Chiron in Aries. So Chiron is in Aries right now, and all of this that I'm talking about is going to take place in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, and it's cardinal fire. It's that energy of rebirth and spring equinox in the northern hemisphere and autumn equinox in the southern hemisphere. So it's all about new beginnings, Aries, and it's this powerful kind of raw fire energy of life, which hasn't yet been sort of more contained into creativity, which you get in Leo, the next fire sign, and in Sagittarius into higher vision, which is the third fire sign. So I had I'm born with Chiron in Aries. It went into Aries. I look back and it was February 1969 that it went into Aries. So there's a whole like generation of children born with this, what Zane Stein called the me generation. And you know, for every generation there's like special astrological things going on that kind of give that a pioneering energy or evolutionary leap kind of energy. And for these 1969 babies onwards up until I don't know exactly when it would finish, but I was born in 70, so at least 76, I would say, there was this intense period. And I had this aha moment when I read Zane Stein was one of the first astrologers who worked with Chiron. And this idea of a me generation, like I really matter. You know, there's like strong sense of identity. And if we think that all of these children, and there's children now too, being born into a world where females are often told that we're selfish if we think about me and what I want, my creative journey, my work. You know, there's a strong kind of conditioning around the female, which is what I'm going to talk more about today, because this is how I experience it. But this isn't the only way you could talk about this Chiron in Aries, but the whole female conditioning around kind of giving up me for husband, parents, children, you know, so some of us may not even have children because we were so much meant to explore this me energy. And it kind of really made sense of a part of my personality that I struggled with up until I realized what an important part of my evolutionary nature this me mattering actually was. So I share that here in the hope that if you're a Chiron in Aries child, that you kind of feel that too. And also, like we're all going to be feeling this because of what's going on with Chiron in Aries now. It kind of applies to everyone right now. So very interesting. I've been going through this intense kind of like a clashing energy with my inner Penelope, who I discovered is conjunct my Venus, and I'm in a like quite strong transit with it. So, but Penelope is one example of an archetype who was married to Ulysses, who kind of completely had to give up her female power, her will, and basically sit around waiting for Ulysses all her life to show up, which he basically never did. So, yeah, and I sort of working on a poem about, you know, it sort of came into my head, like all the wasted female creativity and life force that was just waiting for the masculine, was supporting the masculine without receiving anything particularly back. And this is things that we have all come here to challenge in this lifetime, to break through the idea that the female individuality doesn't matter. So mentioning Penelope, and I'm going to touch into a few other, you know, female deities, asteroids, centaurs, who kind of embody this need for the feminine archetype to shift into more of an honoring of itself and less of a giving away of its power and life force to others. And in my own life, I feel the kind of crunch and tear of these old codes, like literally cracking apart right now. And it's amazing to me that the Sudarshan Chakra Kriya has come in, because it is so perfect, this powerful breath we're doing as the daily practice in Soul Tribe. I think pretty much all of us here are involved in that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can join in, come and join in this powerful breath practice that is just feels like coding the I am into our solar plexus, that pure solar energy. Okay, so what is the Chiron wound in Aries? So wherever we have Chiron in the chart, it has like a specific kind of wound in every sign of the zodiac, and will also depend in your chart in which house it is. Not surprisingly, I have Chiron in the 7th house of relationships. That's probably apparent to anyone in my astrology class that that would be the case. So one of the interesting things about these centaurs is a different kind of body to an asteroid, and that's they have a very long, like egg shape, elliptic, and they run over often a number of the outer planet orbits. So Chiron is the first one discovered in 1977, and the point it was discovered at, actually, which I had on the first page, is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's the Sabian symbol for where it was discovered, which is a very kind of elusive place of healing, if you like, or wholeness that we're all looking for. But it feels like it's like you see it and then it's gone again. So the Chiron wound, first of all, it passes over the planet Saturn, which is all about restriction, and then it passes over the orbit of Uranus, which is all about liberation. So immediately, what astrologers know and has been widely researched now is Chiron takes us on a journey into the underworld where we feel this restriction, this limitation. And then in the healing part of Chiron, there's this potential for the Uranian liberation. And I mentioned before, this Jinki 51 has this very powerful, for me, this powerful Uranian initiating, awakening energy. So the Chiron wound in Aries specifically, Aries is about our sense of self. So the wound is about invisibility, not being seen or heard. Often the gifts aren't recognized by the parents and teachers. And so there's this real painful feeling of not being seen, basically, by those we would hope would see us. I have known people with Chiron in the 1st house or on their ascendant who literally have like wounds around their legs because Chiron was shot with an arrow in the leg and the leg could never heal. So he was immortal, but he was in pain and trying to heal himself his whole life. And that's why he becomes this incredible healer out of the necessity to heal himself. So wherever Chiron is in your chart, I talked about mine's in the 7th house, you will have a specific area where your Chiron will manifest as well. If you don't know about houses and you know which house your Chiron's in, we could talk about that at the end, speak into that. So with Chiron, there comes this potentially, I mean, we could go through our whole life and never come into the healing part. We can live in that deep victim consciousness of the wound. But once we start to turn that around and recognize that really the recognition is that the wound isn't mine, the wound is the collective wound. And therefore we start having empathy with others who carry the same wound as we do. So when Chiron in Aries becomes a healer, they're really good at recognizing other people. They help others to see themselves, their inherent goodness. So all the things that weren't seen about them as children, they're like able to see others' gifts. And I definitely feel I have that. Like as an astrologer, I think my gift is being able to see people. And as soon as people are seen, they're like come to life, they blossom. So it's a wonderful gift to be able to really see others and to hear them as well. And because the wound in Aries is about the wound of the ego, sometimes that means because the ego is so wounded, you can become like a hollow bone for the divine will to move through you. And that's the highest, I think, Chiron healing. And I think at this point in my evolution, and I'm in a very intense kind of relationship thing right now, that I kind of come in and out of that. And then I think eventually the healer part starts to kind of become more integrated into who we are, and the subconscious wounds have less and less of a hold on us. And yeah, I'm really interested to see this work on myself with the Sudarshan Chakra Kriya in this period ahead. Okay, so let's look at the gene keys that Aries goes through, and you'll see this is going to come back when we look at some of what's going on in the charts. So the first gene key in Aries is gene key 25, and this moves from constriction to universal love. The next gene key is 17, which moves from opinion to omniscience. I have my Chiron in this particular gene key. There's a body, a trans-neptunian object called Salacia, who is the wife of Neptune. And I'm actually going to do a class on her and Poseidon. I'm feeling a calling to go into that, but she's a really interesting transformer of the Neptunian masculine energy. And she's been in 17 for a couple of years now. So the next one along then is gene key 21, which moves from control to valor, very kind of warrior-like energy. And so where Aries is now is gene key 51, which moves from agitation to awakening. I love the name in the I Ching of this. It's called the arousing force of thunder. And it's in the hexagrams, it's like thunder over thunder. So it's like, you know, I mean, what this transit's going to do, I'm just like completely like, oh my God, this is going to be powerful. Then the next one along is the 42, which moves from expectation to celebration. And then gene key 3, which moves from chaos to innocence. So you can see, you know, Chiron takes its time going through all of this. Oh, that my mistake. Okay, so let's have a look at the chart. First of all, this is the chart for the 22nd of February. And I wanted to touch on this first because you're going to see how the masculine, feminine, inner alchemy, outer alchemy are so much part of the story. So we have this exact Venus-Mars conjunction, and it's also conjunct Pluto there. And this is taking place in gene key 41, which is the start codon. So it's like Venus and Mars meeting, and this new encoding like is opening up just before this whole thing with Chiron happens. And it's very close to Pluto, which is opening the Aquarian codes of light. So very significant, I feel. On this date, we have Juno has been moving to and fro across gene key 47. So Juno is the goddess of the sacred relationship in this transformative 47th gene key. It's like transmuting all the dark matter, if you like. And on this particular day is exactly, well, not quite exactly, but very close to opposing Hygeia, who is a healing goddess that is going to come up later on as well. And you can see here that Chiron is moving closer to the north node there, which is what we're going to look at next. And Jupiter is moving ever closer to Uranus, which is, we did a whole class on that, which you can go back and look at, and we'll look at it as we get closer to it again. Okay, so that. Okay, so this is the chart where Chiron meets the North Node at 17 degrees Aries. The North Node is like a funnel of where the neutrinos come like uninterrupted through any planetary influence into our realm. And so it's like a place that astrologers say it's like where the karmic energy is moving towards this point. And there we have Chiron in that exact place. So hang on, let me give you the dates that it's exact are the 25th of February, actually, to the 13th of March, which is the day on this chart. So we've got quite a lot of days where there's this exact conjunction going on. And it's in gene key 51, awakening, in the first line, which is, it's like the rooting, it's about the security, the kind of foundation of this awakening is activated at this point. And what's very interesting to me is that Gaia, the asteroid, is also at 17 degrees Aries. So this is all about the planetary energy, as well as our own kind of human energy, if you like. Here we have Mercury. Now, very interesting, because Mercury is just 1 degree away from Okyrhoe. And Okyrhoe is the daughter of Chiron and Chariklo, who was a seer. But because she talked about, and she kind of saw what was going to happen to her father with the arrow and all of that, and she spoke it out, and the gods got really pissed off with her, and they turned her into a horse because she basically kind of spoke out when she wasn't supposed to. So very interesting that she is with Mercury, which is all about communication. So with this awakening, what I'm feeling is there might be an urge to speak out on these things that have been really repressed in our psyche. You know, there's these kind of invisible taboos of things we're not supposed to talk about. And it feels like, you know, something may come out in the news, for example, that's a kind of a real taboo subject, or we might feel that that's something we want to talk about. Other interesting thing is this goddess Hygeia, who's a healing goddess, is coming into conjunction with Neptune. So this is all about healing water, and it feels like a very dreamlike energy with Neptune. So these two I wanted to mention as well, because they actually conjunct each other. So I wanted to look up where Chariklo was, and she's in Aquarius, in the middle of Aquarius here, in gene key 13, line 3. And this is all about a deep listening. So Chariklo is is the wife of Chiron, but we never hear about her, but she's a healer too. And she learns about healing through being Chiron's carer, if you like. So she plays this very, like she's a wise woman, but she's really invisible in the background. And she has this incredible transmutative powers because she basically goes from being a water nymph to being a centaur because she wants to be with Chiron. So she kind of brings herself out of the water element into being a centaur, and then she turns Chiron into Alpha Centauri. So she also has the power to turn him into a star constellation. So she's pretty cool. Like, no one ever talks about her, but she has a lot of healing power going on. And I was really intrigued then to find her conjunct Parvati in this Jinki 19, which is all to do with codependence. And this whole thing I'm talking about me, like the biggest block to me is probably our codependence, because we stop being me to please others who we feel may abandon us. If the true me shines forth, we might get like chucked out of the tribe or our relationship or whatever. So Parvati's a new one on Taraka. I'll have the address of Taraka where you can look these all up. But Parvati in the Indian Hindu teachings is this very kind of loyal, devoted wife. So you have a theme here of the loyal, devoted wife who gives up her power to the masculine. And my feeling is we've been asked to not do that any longer, or at least calm down how we're doing that, notice how we're doing it. And in the Aquarian age, it's all about equality. So it's a time-limited program. We're giving away a female power, put it that way. Another lovely thing about this chart is you can see that Juno is at 11 degrees Virgo, the moon's at 11 Taurus, and Ceres, the mother goddess, is at 11 Capricorn. So we've got this perfect earth trine to go alongside Gaia in that whole activation. Like, it feels like this is really good for Earth, what is about to happen here. Okay, so this is the first big thing that's happening with Chiron, this conjunction with the North Node in sort of 25th of February to 13th of March is the exact time period. Then we get into early April. Those of us doing the Venus moon gate, this is like the day after our April gate. So it's going to be very powerful. That we then have this total solar eclipse. This is incredible because we've got a solar eclipse and Chiron is exact down to the minute. So you can see it's 19 degrees Aries, 24 minutes. That's where the new moon eclipse is. And it's like down to the minute. I've never seen that with a body being like that exact to the minute. It's like, yeah. So if you take that this North Node thing's happened and then this is happening, it's like, oh my God. So the lines, I think, are interesting because that was in the line 1, the North Node, and then the lines come up through the chakras. So it begins in the root chakra, and by the time we reach the 5th chakra, we're in the throat. And this goes, so it goes from like the individual into the collective in the 5th line as well. So it's like really powerful, like a I'm just feeling it as this healing energy that like rises through our individual body and out maybe through our voice into the collective. So talking of voice, let's bring in Manwe and Varda. That's Manwe there, is at 2 degrees Aries. This is Jinky 25, line 4. And Manwe on this particular day is conjunct Venus. And here we have our healing goddess, Hygeia again. And we have Varda, is actually a Jinky 10 now, but she's been crossing the galactic center for ages. So she's Jinky 28, 28 degrees Sagittarius, 28 minutes. So she's just sort of past the galactic center now, but this is where she's been, these two, for at least the past year, kind of hanging over these points. So who are Varda and Manwe? Well, they're two of Tolkien's creations in the Silmarillion. So it's quite an interesting story. So Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, which did really well. And then the publishers were like, right, we want the next book. And he wrote the Silmarillion, which is almost like a creation myth that he built on older archetypes, like from the Norse, the Celtic traditions. And the publishers were like, no, there's no hobbits in it. We don't like this book. And so he went on then to write Lord of the Rings. But in this Silmarillion are these two beings, Manwe, who's an archangel, and Varda, who is this like an elven queen, who's just this incredible light. A version of her is in Lord of the Rings. If you've seen the film, you'll know exactly who I mean. And these two sing Middle Earth into being. So this kind of fascinated me, and it came up in another call I was in yesterday about the goddess Nut and the singing of the world into being. And I've been really working with my tuning forks and light language singing for a while. And I feel like the sound current is really important. It's coming through us in different ways. And I see this as this line 5 is this like singing the new world into being. You know, it could be anything. You might go out and like sing to the rivers and sing to the mountains, or we might be singing to other people. I don't know, but I just know this thing about singing is important somehow. The galactic center it's like a huge black hole. Our entire galaxy is moving around. So all molecules that exist in our solar system came out of the galactic center. If you imagine like a dark birthing mother, that's what the galactic center is. So that's where Varda is. And then we have this point, you know, 2 Aries. Well, Manwe's been like in this early part of Aries, this new beginning, Jinky 25, you know, moving from constriction to universal love. You know, so we can see what the new codes are. They're about light, beingness, expansion, and universal love. So this is something Kelly Hunter wrote about. Varda and Manwe live in a high tower at the top of the world. When together, he can see very far and she can hear very far. They unite in the sound and light of the original creative impulse. They embody the twin flame phenomena. So here we have this connection back to sacred love. I've called all these ones I'm doing now Sacred Love, the Aquarian Codes. And I really see Varda and Manwe like holding a very pure energy. You know, some of the other archetypes I'm talking about are trying to heal stuff, but these two are just this kind of very high frequency singing things into being. So all these bodies, you can screenshot this page if you want to get the numbers down. You can go to Taraka.io, which is Kim Gould's website, and you can get your chart for free. And it will give you all of these bodies. They will be further down the list because the first three are centaurs, and the last two are what are called trans-neptunian bodies. So you can find both the gene key and the position in the zodiac by looking on Taraka.io. It's a fantastic resource. So here's some initial suggested themes for Tolkien-inspired. So trans-Neptunian objects, they're also called Kuiper belt objects with their unique nuances to contribute to the awakening of quantum consciousness. So these are Kelly Hunter's keywords for Varda and Manwe. So celestial inspiration from divine realms. Yes, we want some of that. Alchemical world renewal. This is the one I feel the most, like taken with everything else. This is what we're experiencing, alchemical world renewal through our individual self though. So it's like, wow. Creative magic, power to manifest vision into form, directed life force, focus light, divine love, and spiritual dedication to light over dark. Yes to all of that. So just to give you a flavor of where the story is going, next week we're going to look at this activation of Gene Key 8, which is called the Diamond of the Self, and it's sitting over the Pleiadian stars, and it's moving from mediocrity to exquisiteness. I love this gene key. It's one of my favorites. And we're going to be talking about Sedna, who's the Inuit goddess, more Somna, which means like death and dreaming. So that theme coming up again. And Alicanto, who is this kind of Chilean, amazing golden bird. And I just finished reading, again, Philip Pullman, The Northern Lights. And so I'm going to talk a bit about that book and this thing about the individual Lyra, that character who's like so much has to be me. She can't be anything else but herself. And she has these really like wacky taboo parts of her, like she's really good at lying, for example, and the bear calls her Lyra Silver Tongue in the end. So she's just a really fascinating character that I think illuminates the story quite well. And Chiron in Aries, this whole thing about mediocrity, fitting in, trying to be like everybody else, you know, dulling ourselves down in case we stand out and kind of get some flack or get rejected. So Chiron in Aries leads us, is kind of showing us the problem with trying to fit in too much. So yeah, it's a really interesting energy. Right, I think that's my last slide. Okay, so I'm really interested to know what you think about all of this. And I know some of you are astrologers yourselves or just responding from things happening in your life. Anything you'd like to say, really. I'm going to stop the recording.